Hey, what's up? I'm Liz, the Split City DIY, and today is going to be a little bit of a different type of video because I'm not really sure what's going to happen, and I'm going to record it that way. So, as you can see, this is an original NES with all of the hype around the NES Classic, which I obviously, like the rest of everyone in the world, wasn't really able to find, and then with all the upcoming hype with the SNES Classic, which I tried really hard to get pre-order on, but I'm 95% sure I didn't get one. That's how cryptic the pre-orders were, that you aren't even sure, like, yes, no, pretty sure no, but maybe. I just, out of, like, curiosity, recently just searched in Amazon, like, how much a used NES was going for, and actually, like, very affordable, less than an NES or SNES Classic. So I found one that had very good rating, came with 2 controllers, came with power supply, AV cables, and icing on the cake, Super Mario Brothers original and Duck Hunt dual cartridge, as well as the Duck Hunt rifle thing, which although I don't have a CRT TV right now, which is the only thing they work with, it's just, I mean, kind of cool to have. So I thought that was awesome. The seller had like a decent rating, so I went for it. It came with some problems. First of all, power supply, this prong was bent, like hardcore. I was able to bend that back, it's not a big deal, I was fine with that. But then I looked more at the cable, it looks kind of janky, like something happened to it, and there's definitely a lot of fraying on it. As I looked closer, like just really bad fraying. So that wasn't great, but you know, I'm fairly brave, so I plugged into NES, and I got bupkis, nothing. So luckily the NES actually just powers on a 9-volt power supply with at least 1.4 amps. And I had a couple 9-volt supplies, one that I actually use for the lights that you can get from Adafruit, another one that I have for my guitar pedals, and both of those worked and powered the NES, so that was good. That was good at least. So like, fine, PSU doesn't work. But then, one thing, it said it had been cleaned and tested. The controllers, really, let me try to get on the mic. There's some like really sticky stuff happening inside the controller. There's even some visibly gunkiness on the actual button. There's some like real gunkiness happening. So that's less than ideal. But like, I can clean that, that's fine. Much better, oh my gosh. World of a difference. The Mario Brothers Duck Hunt cartridge had a lot of gunk on the contacts. I was able to clean that. You can take these apart and clean the contacts really easily, so that's good. But when I plug in a cartridge, I get the blinking red light. Oh, you can't even see. I get the blinking red light. And it's cycle boots. It goes into a boot loop, basically, for the cartridge. So I also have this Tetris cartridge that is in good condition. Clean those contacts as well. The same thing happens with this one. So I have a feeling that it is actually the cartridge reader inside the NES. It's because these are dual loading cartridges. The pins are going inside a connector that's kind of like has a little mouth, basically. And every time you push that in, the mouth gets a little bit stretched out, and so you can stretch those back down to make it so that it's a little bit of a tighter connection. You can also clean the contacts, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say that these contacts have not been cleaned based on how the rest of the stuff arrived. So I'm going to be opening up the NES to try to see if we can fix this boot loop issue with the cartridges. If worst comes to worst, you know, you get some nice glamour shots of inside an NES and we get to take a look at that. Best case scenario, we fix it and it reads cartridges. Alright, so now we're doing the big one. Going to the NES. Same thing with the controller. I just did some like surface cleaning. The outside of this wasn't too bad. Just had some stains here. Look like, again, liquid stains. Everything else seemed pretty good, so time to go in. So basically what we're going to be going for is getting into the motherboard and taking a look at the cartridge reader to see if we can do anything to fix that. There we go. Okay, very carefully. Okay, so I cleaned the contacts and now I'm actually going through and bending up all these pins by just a tiny little bit using ESD tweezers, just the tip, to make better contacts. So it's going to take a little bit. It's also going to be really, really tedious and I'm not going to be able to really get it on camera. So next time we meet, I'll be putting it back on the motherboard. Okay, so I finished bending up all the pins that the cart goes onto. It actually went a lot faster than I thought it would. You just have to carefully bend it up just a little bit. And I did a test fit with the Tetris cart and it does feel tighter. So I'm hoping that that will help things. If not, there is another hardware mod that you can do to the board, but I'd like to avoid that if I can. So now I'm gonna reassemble the whole thing and try to power everything up. Alright, so it's the next day now, and I apologize if the lighting ends up looking terrible even after post, but in my kitchen now because after trying to bend up the pins to make them tighter, I did get some better results than I had with gameplay, but meaning that I saw stuff come up on the screen like briefly, but then it would loop back. So the reason why we're in my kitchen right now is I'm actually going to try the boiling method, which is where you take the cart reader off again and boil it in water for like 10 to 15 minutes. And people have had a lot of success with this. I know it sounds absolutely insane if you aren't like into retro gaming and have read this, but apparently it just resets the pins, make them kind of, the boiling water and the high temps basically makes the metal kind of go to where it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna try that. And if that doesn't work, then we're gonna have to do the nuclear option. And the nuclear option is actually clipping a pin on the NES 10 chip. The NES 10 chip is basically a, think of it like an old school DRM chip. And if you clip this one pin, I believe it's pin 4, I'll obviously be looking at a diagram before I do it. It's supposed to also fix the looping red button. So first go try the boiling option. That doesn't work. We're going in for major surgery. So let's see what happens. Alright, so it's now another day later, about 12 hours later. So I boiled the cartridge reader and I let it dry overnight. I also took a hairdryer to it just to make sure it was like fully dry. You don't want to put a wet component inside your system or any electrical system. Got it all back together, did another test, and I'm still getting the blinking light. So we have to do the nuclear option. We're going to be clipping the pin on the NES 10 chip. So yeah, I'm gonna open it back up again. It's gonna be my third time opening it up. So I've gotten really good at opening this up. So if you want a dedicated video talking about the teardown process and what you find when you're in there, let me know because it would be very easy for me to do now. So we're gonna get in there, gonna clip the chip and see if that works. I'm kind of at a point, I mean, that's definitely risky, like clipping something off the board, but my philosophy is, I've said it in other videos where I'm trying to repair stuff, if it's not working, then it's not serving you a purpose at the moment, and you might as well like do something that's risky to try to see if it'll work, because right now it's not working at all. Let's dive back in and see what we find. Alright, so as you can see, gone back into the NES, and this time I've actually taken the motherboard completely out of the case and plugged everything, and I've put it in my little vise here, because we're going to be doing some surgery to the board, specifically on this chip right here. This is called the NES 10 chip. It's basically the lockout chip, which think of it as old school DRM, and it's supposed to protect against using pirated cartridges and stuff like that, but basically what it can do is give a false positive over time and think that everything is danger, danger, Will Robinson. And the way that you disable it is you take out this pin right here, pin 4. Now you can obviously desolder it. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to just pull the pin out because that's what most people do. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit tricky because you're in capacitor town, basically right here. We've got some diodes and resistors as well, so we're going to have to be very careful. I was kind of hoping it was going to be this, but based on the code, I was pretty sure it wasn't. So just confirmed it is in fact this chip and this pin right here. So we're going to try to remove that, see how that goes. Obviously this is, as I said before, getting into kind of a danger zone as far as like you may completely mess up your NES, but we're going to go for it because I have nothing to lose at this point. So. Got it. So I got a pretty clean break on it. I think I'm gonna leave it like that. And see what happens. This is very risky. I'm not feeling great about it, not gonna lie. I'm also gonna give this another clean with some rubbing alcohol just to be 100% sure that we leave out no variables. Then plug it back in, see what happens. Alright, so after a long struggle opening up the NES, not once, not twice, but 3 times, as you can see, it is working. The snipping of pin 4 on the NES 10 chip was ultimately what made it work. I probably could have started there and had success with the system, but I mean, I feel like most people don't want to start by cutting a pin of a chip on the motherboard. And also it probably is good to clean out the cart reader just to be on the safe side anyway, so I'm glad I did that. And the controller's been destickified, so I'm able to play some Mario Brothers, which is awesome. So I learned a lot from trying to fix up this NES, and I'm glad that was ultimately successful. Definitely not what I was planning when I purchased the system used, but hey, what you gonna do? I'm glad that it's working now, and I'm glad that like I learned a little bit more about the NES architecture. If you have a retro system, don't automatically assume you gotta junk it. You know, there's ways to fix it. But with that, that's gonna wrap this video up. I hope you enjoyed this journey into repair and also the unknown. Also, let me know if you liked this style of video where it wasn't like as organized and planned out. It was kind of like film as I go, because I really didn't know how this was going to go, if at the end we would even have a working NES at all. So yeah, if you liked it though, toss me a thumbs up. Again, leave a question or comments down below. I'll link down some resources in the description, as well as all my social media links for behind the scenes nonsense. If you were following me, you would have seen a lot of pictures of the motherboard and up close stuff like that. But thank you for watching. Consider subscribing for more content like this. I'm going to be doing more of retro gaming hardware and also some Linux stuff as well. Until next time, this has been Blitz City DIY.